Hey friends, welcome to the 90.7 pod. I am your host, Isyss Garcia, and this is the Jazz Corner, where we talk about all things jazz for the music lovers and creators. So for all the haters, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Okay, now let's get into the music. All right, people, we got a lot to get into today, so let's just get into it, all right? Last episode, we explored the origins of jazz from its conception up until this point. We talked about the 1920s. We talked about how they were just purely playing off of improvisation, which gave it its own unique old-timey feel back then. We talked about how the sound changed as the decades went along by incorporating new sounds, relying less on improvisation and more on sheet music and electric and electronic instruments, and we've seen how that sound has changed up until this point. And although it kind of keeps a common theme throughout the decades, like we still know it's jazz, but I would say that the sound is completely different than what it was back then, which leads me to our main segment today, which I like to call Jazz in the Next Gen. In the next few episodes, we're going to demonstrate how jazz continues to evolve into the next gen, for better or for worse. Being a part of Gen Z, we're constantly being fed regurgitated music and formulas that capitalize on the nostalgia of our childhood and reminds us of simpler times before we had to pay bills and before the economy was in the toilet, but we're not going to get into that today, okay? But what we are going to get into is the impact of jazz on modern music and how the sound from decades ago have made a strong resurgence in popular music. And I'm sure all the people out here that aren't in my age group, I'm talking about the millennials out there, the Gen Xers, the boomers, how y'all doing today? I know you guys definitely notice it. We're starting to notice it a lot more, but I'm sure you guys have seen how many samples and sounds from back then are constantly just being flipped around and repackaged as new with no really change or way to make it new and modernized. It's just a sample that they incorporated and just put it out there to capitalize on that nostalgia. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about, who's doing it right and where there could be some areas of improvement, okay? Some execute it better than others, and that's what we're going to talk about today on Jazz in the Next Gen. Who is leading the pack and who's missing the mark? Find out after we give you our song of the day. All right, before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to give y'all the song of the day, where I highlight my favorite jazz influenced song, and you have no choice but to listen to it. Let me know your thoughts on the song in the comments below, and if you want to tell me your song of the day, let us know in the comments, and you can force the entire triangle area to listen to your song. Now, without further ado, the song of the day is Open the Window by your friend Dao, spelled D-A-A-O. Definitely go check them out. This song is a 2024 release, and it is part of the album Diary May, and I just absolutely love this record. It's just one of those tracks that really just transports you to a completely different time. Every time I play it, I just feel like I'm transported all the way to a jazz lounge in the 1930s. It just makes me feel so classy, but also just really relaxed. So this is just a great song if you're, doing work, or you're driving and stuck in traffic, or you're just not having a good day and you just need to unwind. This is the track for you. I love it. It just gives me all that jazz realness with some funk in there, some soul, just all of the feel-good sounds. So definitely go check that out. The song is called Open the Window. It's what you're listening to right now, and do stay tuned for our next segment, where we will be discussing jazz in the next gen and the pioneers of the modern era. Alrighty, everybody, it is time for our main segment of the day, which is Jazz in the Next Gen, where I'm just going to talk about the pioneers of the modern era and jazz influences, whether that be samples or interpolations or concept ideas that were influenced by jazz artists in the past, and people like John Coltrane, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis, Duke Ellington, those major significant pioneers. We're going to see how their sound is reimagined and repackaged for consumption in the modern era, because music is definitely different than it was back then, both sonically, lyrically, conceptually, and commercially. So we're just gonna get into all of that today. The way that I want to break up this segment within the next episodes is by genre. So today I want to focus a lot on jazz rap because it has gained a lot of popularity in recent years, but it is also one of my personal favorite genres that I like to listen to, and this is my show, so buckle up. But no, in all seriousness, it's just whenever I think about jazz in the next gen, it's specifically a handful of artists that instantly come to my mind with specific projects, and I really just want to deep dive and just get into that today. I think it'll be a good revelation for my younger audience who likes these projects, or maybe hasn't heard of these projects but will go listen to them after this, and then they're gonna see how that sound back then has changed and developed into what it is now. And I think it's just really important to understand the sound has changed, and the music that we listen to today, I think it's really beneficial to know where it comes from. But I think it'll also be something really good for the older generations to listen to as well, because they will see how the music that they grew up on back in the day, how that's being modernized and turned into something completely new and reimagined. And like I said in the intro, some people do it better than others, but I think it'll be good for them to see how it's evolved for better or for worse. But I'm really just going to go over the good projects today, so I feel like it'll be a good learning experience for everybody. And if anybody hasn't listened to any of these projects or these artists, I definitely recommend. It's not going to be a waste of time, and you guys won't regret it at all. I would never do you guys wrong. If y'all listened to the last episode, if y'all checked out my playlist of the week last week, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, and I'm gonna give you guys another playlist at the end of this podcast. This whole podcast is really just about expressing my love and enthusiasm for jazz music, but also giving you guys insight to new music and artists that you guys might not have heard about otherwise. So yeah, I think I covered everything. Oh yeah, and then the way that I'm going to divide the specific segment is I'm going to highlight my favorite artists and their projects that have jazz influence, and then we're just going to basically pick them apart and just really get to the bottom of which parts are directly influenced by jazz. But first, we gotta do one of my favorite segments, which is Guess That Sample. So stay tuned for that. Welcome to Guess That Sample, where we take some of our favorite songs from the 21st century and have you all guess which artist/song the sample derives from. Let us know your answers in the comments, and bonus points if you can guess when the original song was released. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out who the sampled artist is, and if you want to pick the next song for Guess That Sample, you can put it in the comments below or let us know on our Instagram at WNCU_FM. Now, let's get back into the swing of things. Alright, you guys, so today's Guess That Sample is going to be a little bit different than last time. Last episode, I showed you guys the sampled song first and then followed it up with the original song, but today we are going to flip-flop that, and I'm going to give you guys the original song first and then have y'all guess what the sampled song is. But for this episode, I'm not going to give you guys a multiple choice just because I feel like if you recognize the original song, you will most likely guess what the sampled song is, just because it's a very popular hip-hop song. And that is actually the first hint that I'm giving you guys, is that it is in fact a hip-hop song. And the original song that I'm about to play for you guys, it is a Japanese jazz song, and a lot of Japanese jazz is typically sampled in hip-hop, so I just feel like it's very fitting given that we're talking about jazz rap today. But I will be doing a deep dive into Japanese jazz in one of my later episodes, so definitely stay tuned for that. That's gonna be a really good episode because I absolutely love Japanese jazz. And to those who might not be familiar with Japanese jazz, I almost guarantee that y'all have probably heard either a Japanese jazz song or a sample. And if you guys recognize this sample today, then you do know Japanese jazz. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the song. So the original song, the name is actually in Japanese, but it does translate to Sky Restaurant by the Hi-Fi Set. It was released in 1974, and it is a part of the album Hi-Fi Blend Part 1. And I'm gonna go ahead and play a short little clip of that right now. So as you can tell by even just that small little section that I gave you guys, it's just a very nice, relaxing vibe. That's generally the vibe that Japanese jazz tends to give off, just very relaxed and calm and tranquil. That's why I really love the genre, and like I said, I cannot wait to get into it in the next few episodes down the line. So yeah, I already gave you guys one hint that the sampled song is a hip-hop song, and I'm gonna give you guys one more hint. I honestly feel like I'm giving you guys too many hints, but just to help y'all out a little bit, I'll give y'all the second hint, which is that the sampled song was released in 2014. To any of my hip hop heads out there listening, I'm almost certain you guys probably guessed what the song is given the sample that I showed you guys and then the two hints, but you guys will have to wait till the end of the episode to see if your suspicions are correct. And I'm sure that it's some people out there who have probably never heard this sample before in their life, or at least think that they haven't heard the sample. But just stay tuned, everybody, okay? No cheating. Don't go look it up. Wait till the end of this episode to find out what the sampled song is and who made it. But first, we're gonna get into jazz in the next gen. All right, you guys, it is time for Jazz in the Next Gen, where I highlight music in the modern era that takes influence from the sounds of the past and reinvents it into something completely new and original and thought-provoking. So I'm really going to be focusing on jazz rap today and one specific project within jazz rap, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to be familiar with it. But first, I just want to give a quick recap about jazz rap in case you missed the first episode. So jazz rap was developed in the late 80s and rose to prominence in the early 90s due to hip-hop going mainstream. It is now considered an alternative subgenre in rap, and there's a plethora of budding and established artists in the genre who are making waves in their respective fields. And today we are going to be talking about one in particular. It is an iconic body of work by an iconic artist, and today we are going to be talking about To Pimp a Butterfly by the one and only Kendrick Lamar. It was released in March of 2015, and it is his third studio album. It consists of 16 tracks, and the way that I would describe this album sonically is a blend between jazz and hip-hop fused with some funk and soul elements in there, along with a few other genres, but I would say those are the main ones that really come through. And I just want to give you guys some background on the accolades that this project has received, because many people would refer to this project as one of the best jazz rap albums and arguably one of the best albums ever. And I would honestly agree with that. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts. It won a Grammy for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Sung Performance. So it's heavily decorated, you could say. And it covers themes of materialism, oppression, racism, reflection, and above all, self-love, as well as exploitation. That is also a really big theme within this project. And I just really love this project because it's a lot going on, and it's so many different metaphors sprinkled into it and quadruple entendres and what have you, but he still manages to tell a cohesive story with, one sort of overarching theme that interconnects everything together, and it's just a very cohesive, well thought out body of work. So it just made sense to highlight it on my platform. And he has this one specific metaphor that is reoccurring throughout the story, and it has to do with a caterpillar and its transformation from a cocoon to a butterfly, and he is able to relate that back to his own life and use it as a metaphor to represent his life from back in the day when he was growing up in Compton and having to utilize the resources that were directly available to him, to feeling, confined within the spaces of a cocoon, and then ultimately reaching that goal of becoming the butterfly. However, if you listen to this album, you know that that's not exactly the end-all be-all, and it's more that comes with being the butterfly than it does with being the caterpillar. But we're not going to get into that. It would really take me forever to unpack each and every metaphor in this album, and we just don't have enough time for that today. But I just wanted to highlight that because, like I said, it's a reoccurring theme in the album, and I just think it's a very introspective metaphor to have, but the whole album in itself is just very introspective. I just think everybody will have something that they can take away from this project. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to it and then come back and then we can chat about it. And for the people that have already listened to it and loved it, then yeah, just stay tuned and we're just gonna get into it. This album has a lot of producers on it. Obviously, I feel like if you listen to the album, you can definitely tell it's a lot of different musical styles in it, and Kendrick outsourced a lot of very talented musicians for this project to give it the atmosphere that it has. So to name a handful of the producers on this project, we have Thundercat, which is one of my personal faves, Pharrell Williams, another one of my personal faves. Actually, most of these people are my personal faves, so I'm not even about to say that. We also have Soundwave, Flying Lotus, Boy Wonder, Knowledge, Terrace Martin, Racky, Tommy Black, Taz Arnold, Robert Glasper, and many more. But I would say those are the main ones, at least that I hear in the production. And the executive producers are Dr. Dre and Anthony Tiffith of Top Dog Entertainment. And yeah, you can definitely, I feel like you can really hear each of these producers in the production. Like, everybody added their own essence to really contribute to the atmosphere of this album. But yeah, so the actual producers aside, Kendrick had a lot of influence when it came to the sonic landscape of this album, and his influences can be attributed to musicians of both the past and the present. For example, Terrace Martin is somebody that he worked very closely with on this project, and in fact, he even introduced him to iconic jazz musicians such as Miles Davis and John Coltrane and Herbie Hancock, and yeah, just the people that we've talked about in previous episodes, and just jazz icons. That's the best way that I can explain it. People that have trailblazed the sound of jazz to make it what it is today. And when he was playing this music for Kendrick was hearing, these scats and these rhythms from Miles Davis that he really took inspiration from, to the point where he was like, I want to be able to do that. I want to rap that way. I want to emulate this sound. And even though it was out of pocket, because as we know, a lot of classical jazz is not on beat, especially in swing. That's like the whole purpose of swing. It's not on beat, but it is very jazz. And Kendrick recognized this, and he used this influence, and he used the different rhythms and the weirdness of that sound and really made it into something beautiful and timeless. But Terrace Martin was really, and shout out to Terrace Martin, because he was really the person that pushed him to go with this direction, because it was really speaking to Kendrick at the time, and that's really how he was feeling. But Terrace was like, if you're gonna do this, you gotta be unapologetic about it. If you're gonna go there, you really gotta go there. And I just really wanted to include that part, because we talked about last episode, jazz is about improvisation and just like pure confidence. And that's what Terrace Martin is trying to instill in him in this project. Like, you can't do this art form and be hesitant. Like, you have to really feel it with the utmost confidence and just do it. And that's exactly what he did. Like, he truly managed to create an authentic jazz atmosphere. Like, I would describe the atmosphere similar to like an informal jazz session in a dimly lit basement, just to paint that picture. Like, that's really what it feels like for me, and I feel like that's how he wanted it to feel as well. Of course, I don't know him personally, so. But yeah, just certain parts really feel like a product of improvisation. It feels very raw and real, yet extremely intentional at the same time. And I think that's probably one of the parts that I appreciate most about it. You can tell that Kendrick was very committed to maintaining the essence of that jazz DNA within this project. And he does so with complete accuracy, from each instrumental all the way down to the very last vocal inflection. Like I said, he took a lot of inspiration from the way that Miles Davis would approach a track, from his scats to his rhythms to his cadence. It was very much a big influence in this project. And he wanted it to sound like the jazz icons of the past, mixed with the sound that he knows best, which is hip hop. And when you combine all those elements, I believe you truly get a timeless masterpiece that can be enjoyed by all generations, old and young, and everybody from all walks of life, whether you're black or white. I feel like everybody can truly take something away from this project, which is why I thought it would be the perfect album to represent jazz in the next gen, because Kendrick really does an amazing job of introducing a sound from the past and reinventing it into something modern, yet it still has that DNA of the past. Like, when I listen to this song, it really does transport me into a world that is almost indescribable, because it feels so nostalgic yet new in a way, if that makes sense. And I just think, the instrumentals combined with Kendrick's sharp lyricism, like, it's just hard to deny that this isn't an amazing project. And I know that even though J. Cole said that it was boring, I think we all know that the project is the furthest thing from boring if you really unpack it and you really take a step back and look at it for what it is. So yeah, my favorite tracks from the album, actually I have a lot of tracks that I love from this album, like genuinely. I could really listen to it from front to back if I wanted to, but if I had to pick out my favorites, would definitely be the intro, Wesley's Theory. I love King Kunta. I love Institutionalized. I love These Walls. I love All Right. I love You. I love For Sale. I love Mama. I love How Much a Dollar Costs. I love The Blacker the Berry. I love Mortal Man. I just named most of the tracks. But like that really just goes to show it is really a solid project. Like even the deep cuts are good, you know? So yeah, but y'all have probably heard the more famous songs, I guess, like All Right really became like an anthem, especially during, you know, the BLM protests and whatnot. So it just shows how impactful this album really is. And I think when you just combine different producers and inspirations from the past and the present, like it really becomes an intergenerational masterpiece and a timeless album that I will continue to listen to for years and years and years and years and years down the line. So not to sound dramatic or anything, but I really do think it is one of the best projects of all time. Definitely the best rap album of all time. Like, it is textbook of what a good jazz rap album sounds like. So shout out to Kendrick. And like I said, everybody from all walks of life can have something that they can take away from this project. So yeah, that's all I have for Jazz in the Next Gen for you guys today. And just wait for the next episode because we're going to be getting into another project that I really, really love. So stay tuned for that. And now we will be going to our Guess That Sample artist review. All right, everybody, you know what time it is. It is time for the Guess That Sample artist reveal. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Earlier in the episode, I had y'all listen to a little Japanese jazz sample. And now we're going to reveal where the sample derives from, okay? So go ahead and lock your answers in the comments below because we're going to go ahead and reveal that now. So the song that was sampled in Sky Restaurant by the Hi-Fi Set is, drumroll please, y'all should probably know this, it is January 28th by J. Cole, released in 2014, a part of his debut LP 2014 Forest Hills Drive. The reason why I chose this song today is because, I mean, of course, it's an iconic hip-hop song, but it also features this iconic jazz sample. And yeah, even with the sample, he still manages to repurpose it into something totally different, something that's uniquely his own. And this just allows him to express himself and discuss themes of, you know, going back to his roots, his failures, his successes in the music industry, etc. And I feel like it kind of gives the song a sort of nostalgic and reminiscent and sort of reflective sort of atmosphere, and the sample in conjunction with J. Cole's bars really helps us to identify with these feelings and resonate with the song even more. So that's just why I included it today, just because it's really not a lot going on in the sample, but it's so impactful and very crucial to the overall vibe and atmosphere of this record. So yeah, shout out to J. Cole, shout out to the Hi-Fi Set. I like to listen to both tracks. I listen to the Hi-Fi Set whenever I'm just winding down, and then I listen to January 28th whenever. It's really just a good timeless song. So if you got it right, let us know in the comments below. If you got it wrong, let us know in the comments below. You know, we don't judge here. It's a safe space and it's a learning experience. So if you didn't know before, now you know. That is going to conclude this episode's Guess That Sample. And now on to the next segment. All right, you guys, for this segment, I'm going to give you guys my highlights of the week, where I like to give a platform to an up-and-coming small business in Durham and some rising artists within the jazz field that are making waves in the Triangle area. And I just want to be able to give them a platform to showcase their talents or their business and just introduce them to a wider audience. So that's what we are going to do today. All right, you guys, so the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to introduce you guys to the artist of the week first, followed by the business of the week. This week's artist, they are a Durham native and an alumni of the illustrious North Carolina Central University, Eagle Pride. We love to see it. In fact, both people for Artist of the Week and Business of the Week, they both have attended NCCU, so we just love seeing Eagles uplifting other Eagles. So this Artist of the Week, he goes by the name of Malibu Rose. And the best way that I can describe his music is a fusion between jazz and drum and bass, which I love drum and bass and I love jazz. So when you just put those together, you really get something like magical. Not to be dramatic, but genuinely. And the reason why I picked him is I just feel like he really is like pioneering his own unique sound. And I always love to see that, especially from new artists who want to separate themselves from everybody else, and that is exactly what Malibu Rose is doing. His sound consists of ethereal synths with, hard-hitting drums and just that overall feel that you get when you're listening to jazz, but with an alternative twist to it. That's the best way that I can describe it, but if you really want to get a feel of it, then definitely go check out his music. Some of it is playing right now, actually, but if you really want to get the full picture, you guys can check him out. He's pretty much on every main streaming platform. The main ones are Spotify and SoundCloud, but you guys can just go check him out. Just type in Malibu Rose and he should pop up. Definitely go check out the recent single that he put out called We Miss 95. And his album Story Mode that dropped in May. It's a good listen. It's really just a beat tape, but he really does build a world around the music. So go check him out. Some of my favorite tracks from this album are 05-2002, Respond to Me. I also really love Groove Hill Zone and Nothingness. So that is Malibu Rose. Like I said, you guys can go check him out on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your music from. And you guys can also go follow him on IG at Kaylin the Artist. And yeah, so shout out to you, Malibu Rose, and thank you for your service. Now, on to the business of the week. And I'm super excited to introduce you guys to this business today. The owner is a friend of mine. Her name is Cece, and her business is called Yana's Yarniverse. She makes custom crochet products by hand, mind you, and her work is honestly amazing. She's really good at what she does, and when she first came to Central, it was really just a hobby for her. It wasn't something that she thought that she was going to turn into a business. It was just something to keep her busy, but as she developed in her craft, her friends and family was really urging her to share her art with the world. And that's how Yana's Yarniverse came to be. According to her Instagram, she spent countless hours working towards creating a summertime collection by the name of Lotuses. The name is chosen for the meaning of rebirth and overcoming adversity. She was afraid of the stress and demand that came along with owning a small business, but she decided to take that leap and really go all the way with her business. So I just feel like that's a really inspiring story, especially as a full-time student, and just the fact that it's so much time that goes into creating a small business, not to mention money that goes into that as well. So you can tell she really has a lot of passion for what she does, so I can always respect that. And that's why I just felt like she deserved to be highlighted today. I just really wanted to bring attention to her business. So yeah, you guys can find her at Yana's Yarniverse. She can make hats, she can make garments, she can make accessories. She really does it all. So definitely go check her out. Again, her Instagram is Yana's Yarniverse, YANASYARNIVERSE. And that concludes our segment for Highlights of the Week. On to the next segment. Hey you guys, just popping in to inform you guys about our jazz playlist of the week. If you listened to the one last week and you liked it, then I'm sure that you will definitely enjoy the one this week. Go give it a listen. It's the perfect vibe for a commute to work or from work, or if you're just, doing chores, or you just want to listen to some good tunes. And of course, all of these have some sort of jazz influence or are straight up jazz, but it really is a mixture of all different types of things, not every song sounds exactly the same. So hopefully you'll be able to find some new music from this playlist, some new artists you might not have heard before. I will have some songs featuring our artist of the week, Malibu Rose, as well as the songs from our guest that sample, both the sampled song and the original song. But yeah, it's just a great listen. If you got 36 minutes, go ahead and give it a listen. Why not? So to access this playlist, you can find it on our Instagram at WNCU_FM. It should be in our bio, and you can also click the link in the bio in my Instagram, which is Isyss Garcia, ISYSSGARCIA, and I will have the links to all of the playlists in my bio, including all my other Spotify playlists, which I think are pretty good. But you can also search it up by going to Spotify and just typing in WNCU-jazz playlist of the week. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys that little heads up before we go into the next section. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode of the 90.7 Pod's The Jazz Corner, the pod where you don't have to like jazz to enjoy it, but that makes it all the more better. Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what you want to see from us at The Jazz Corner. I'm your host, Isyss Garcia, and we will catch you in the next one.